Hello, my name is Jack Crowther. I'm a longtime resident of Rutland. I'm retired from a career in journalism and writing. The forum today is going to talk about the charter change, which is going to be on the March 5th annual election ballot. It is a charter change. It appears here on the ballot, the upper right-hand corner, Article 1. It would change the Rutland City Charter and add a provision that would prevent the addition of fluoride to the water system. So if you're in favor of this change, you would vote yes to ban fluoridation. If you are against that change, you would vote no. And at this point, I'm going to turn the discussion over to the people on the panel with me, starting to my left, Marilyn, Griffith. And after brief presentations, we will have a more informal discussion about this subject of fluoridation.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Griffith. I live in Rutland. I've lived in Rutland for a little over 20 years. I'm a retired special ed teacher. I'm also a substitute teacher at Northwest Primary School. I go up and sub a couple of days a week, and I see a lot of children. And I became interested in this issue of water fluoridation over 10 years ago when I was working with a group of people. We were helping to get chloramine out of the water. And we were fortunate to have it pass so that we didn't have to add that to our water. And while we were up at the water plant, we noticed the fluorosilicic acid that was also being distributed to the water. And that's another concern I had, because I have a thyroid condition, and I connected my hypothyroidism to fluorosilicic acid, which is added to the water. And once I stopped drinking the city water, my thyroid became normal, and that was a major event in my life. And I'm concerned about children drinking a lot of the water too. No one is measuring what children drink at school, and children really don't have a choice but to drink tap water. So that's where my interest comes. And I've been very fortunate collecting signatures. I mean, I've met so many nice people in Rutland with similar problems, either connected to their kidney or connected to their thyroid or their bladder. They just can't drink the water. And it kind of breaks my heart that they have to go out and buy it. So hopefully we can have cleaner water, and that will help everyone. And if people want to use toothpaste with fluoride, they can do that. But my goal is to see everyone with cleaner water.
Hi, I'm Theresa Haywood, and I live in Rutland City. And Jack asked me to participate mostly because of my perspective with my work as a nurse practitioner. I've worked in that field for over 10 years now. And what really strikes me about putting fluoride in the water system is that we are medicating a water system. You cannot buy fluoride for oral ingestion over the counter. You can only do so with topical formulations. And so it goes against everything I'm used to as a healthcare practitioner, of giving a person the chance for informed consent, and that is to explain the pros and cons of any treatment and then let them opt into that treatment. And another thing that is a cornerstone of any healthcare provider is to recommend treatments based on current evidence. And the Cochrane review is something that is a very respected review of all studies that is synthesized, meta-analysis is done to see so that we can make informed decisions based on all existing studies. And as of 2015, their summary is that there is very little contemporary evidence that meets appropriate quality, evaluating effectiveness of fluoridation of water in prevention of caries. Most of the studies were done before 1975, and that was before widespread use of fluoride in toothpaste products. Also, all of the studies were on children and not in adults. And there was, the report says that there was a lot of confounding variables in all of the existing studies. So such as they did not look at the social economic status of the persons or oral health practices or sugar consumption or diet. So we would also call that not controlled studies. They were observational, which is very poor quality. For instance, no medication is brought to the market with just observational studies. And there was no blinding done on the parts of the study conductors. And so that's a term to make sure that there's no bias in the people collecting the study. They have their own personal beliefs. And so quality studies now are blinded, so the people doing the studies aren't sure who's receiving the product and who is not. So for me, that's it. We really need some contemporary evidence. If you go to the CDC, which a lot of us, again, trust the CDC for their recommendations, and you go to their fluoridation of water page, I kid you not, most of the studies that they're citing are from 1945. And so I really feel like we can do better than that. I feel like we deserve some updated evidence. There is, in the Cochrane Review and other cases, while there's not a proven benefit to fluoridation of water and prevention of caries, there is a known risk of fluorosis, and they say up to 12%, even at the levels that is considered safe in the drinking water. And that's the cosmetic look to teeth that people don't like. My husband's friend has fluorosis and had pretty low self-esteem because of that. Furthermore, in other work that I do in the community at the Rutland Free Clinic, I can tell you that I see a great deal of dental decay. And I would say that most of the persons coming in for treatment are looking for a dental referral. And I'll give a shout out to Dr. Davarin, who volunteers a lot of his time doing dental extractions due to all the caries that we see. And I also see that in my professional day job. So I just want to say that we all want everyone to have healthy teeth, but fluoridation of water is not the panacea. I believe a lot in education, public education, and I do wonder why as a population we aren't spending more efforts in trying to prevent sugar. There's so much candy that's widespread, and I feel as though if we all want to help prevent cavities, we could do a lot more in that public health campaign. The last thing I will say is that I am reminded when I used to work at the Rutland Hospital in the ambulatory care unit, I saw many young children under the care of Dr. Breen, who was a very kind dentist who took Medicaid in children, and he was one of the only ones in our community. And he would actually have to do procedures where the children would have to go under sedation and have their widespread caries taken care of. So I do want to have that in perspective too, in that different dentists who have testified their experience, there may be a difference in how many Medicaid cases they were taking. So thank you.
My name's Lopi, LaRoe. I am a resident of Rutland City, a homeowner and a local artist here. And rather than discuss the arguments for or against fluoride's effectiveness as a treatment for tooth decay, I would like to bring my concerns forward in 4 different categories: environmental, ethical, medical and financial. Environmentally speaking, the concept of willfully introducing a forever chemical into our watershed, to me, goes against my environmental upbringing as a water protector and land steward. I think we should do everything we can to protect our water supply. And the excuse that it's good for our teeth, to me, is at best dubious and at worst just completely ludicrous. Whatever doesn't accumulate in our pituitary glands is flushed down the drain and goes into the watershed, and it accumulates in the wildlife and flora. It is shown to affect the foliage of plants, and it can reduce the crops, the amount of crops. The yield is the word I was looking for, the yield of crops. And there's been studies in Texas and Colorado that show, in horses, that show that it's affecting their bones, and some of them are even crippled from it. Ethically speaking, I think that the members of the community that do not want fluoride in the water supply shouldn't be at the mercy of those who do. And this way, I don't think it's actually, in this case, ethical to have a vote on it, because even though we are having a vote, I don't think it's actually ethical for, even if it is a minority that doesn't want it, for them to have it in their water, because everybody needs water to live. Medically, I keep wondering about the legality of the city commissioner prescribing a drug to people in the community without a medical license. And, you know, even if we do accept that he should somehow be exempt from having to have a medical license to prescribe this drug, which the FDA has stated it is a drug, even if we accept that premise, how do we control the dosage? We don't know how much people are drinking or not drinking, so you can't really control the dosage. So that doesn't make sense to me. And also, why are we bathing in a topical treatment for tooth decay? And why are we even ingesting a topical treatment? When I was a kid, we always would spit it out after, you know, you flush it and then you spit it out. You're not gonna swallow it. Let's see, financially speaking, I think that it's unfair to put the onus on people who don't want it in our water to have to be burdened with the financial cost of what you'd need is a reverse osmosis system for your entire house, which can cost between $8,000 and $10,000, including the installation, and that doesn't even include the maintenance costs, which is, you know, I don't know who can afford that. Also, that doesn't remove the environmental problems, because when you have a reverse osmosis system, the wastewater that goes away has a condensed amount of fluoride in it, which is, again, goes into the watershed, goes into the plants and animals, and is detrimental to the environment. A solution which would appease both sides would cover every of those four different concerns that I raised, 4 different categories of concerns, would be to provide tablets to the community for those people who do want to have it. They can add it to their water individually. That would take care of a lot of the issues. First of all, you could control the dosage. Second of all, it wouldn't require reverse osmosis systems to remove it. Third of all, it would not be flushed down the water systems. And fourth, what was the fourth one? Ethical. You just wouldn't be forcing people to have something in their water that they don't want to have. And I really think that it's time for Rutland to join the, 115 towns and cities in our state that have already banned fluoride from their municipal water supply. And, we're only one of 41 holdouts who still insist on putting this neurotoxin in our water supply. So I just urge people to get out and vote, and I would say that Mini Wachoni means water is life, and that is something that is very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lopi. My name is Greg Cox. I'm an organic farmer in West Rutland. I lived in this community since 1975. I believe in clean food. I've worked with farmers markets, the food center, and I've grown organically for 48 years, and I've raised my children on organic food. I've sold it to my community. I personally believe in clean food, but I also believe in clean water. And I want to be able to make my own choices on what I eat and what I drink. And when I come to restaurants in Rutland, I love water. I drink a lot of water, hydrate during the day. I have my meal without water because of the fluoride in the water. It's very debatable. Both sides are passionate. But I'm old enough, and I've seen it long enough where sometimes the experts that are trying to protect us from ourselves make mistakes. There's a financial incentive. The systems that develop, it's so hard to go against what the orthodoxy is, and I applaud Jack and the rest of the folks that are willing to stand up for clean water in Rutland City. I didn't have a dog in the fight until recently because I didn't live in Rutland, but my daughter now lives in Rutland, and my grandson lives in Rutland City, and my grandson Emerson grew up on the farm. My daughter makes his own food from the food that comes from our garden. She is so inquisitive and always looking at what foods that she can buy, what is in those foods. And she was appalled with fluoride being in Rutland City water. She does not have the capacity to put a reverse osmosis machine in. My little grandson loves playing in the bathtub, half hour to an hour. And he's drinking the water and he's splashing in the water. He's a kid. He loves it. My daughter and son-in-law are now buying bottled water, living in Rutland. And my grandson, who is 3, is coming to the farm to take a bath in the water. And I think this should be a right, a choice. We have the right and the choice with labeling in our food to know and have the ability to buy what you feel. And there are so many different diets, but there's only one source of water in this city. And to have this medicine added to this water, and many people don't even realize that it's there. And it can have negative effects. Oftentimes we see this in industry. So many things that are taken for granted that are wonderful and that do not have negative side effects. As the research gets better, we oftentimes find out that what we thought was safe is not safe. And I am a huge advocate for choice. And so my daughter and son-in-law will be voting on March 5th. And I encourage all of you to vote on March 5th. You have a choice. And I think you should exercise your right to choose whether your water has medicine put in it by somebody else trying to protect you from yourself. Fluoride is available at dentist's office, in toothpaste, so many different options. And I do not believe we should be bathing in it and drinking in it on a daily basis without consent. Thank you.
All right, I'm just going to say a few things about the approach of the pro-fluoridation folks, and then turn it over to the panel for a more informal discussion. But generally speaking, it's dentists and public health officials who promote fluoridation. And they use the authority of their position and their advanced degrees to endorse fluoridation. They present themselves as the experts whom we should trust. And that's fine, but as you listen to their presentations over time, you realize that they're relying heavily on their authority. They're making vague and general statements about the state of the science, and you get the feeling that they're really defending a policy rather than the science. So they make claims that there are literally thousands of studies that support the safety and effectiveness of fluoridation, but they don't give you specifics. We, on the other hand, those of us who oppose fluoridation, have tried to bring to the public peer-reviewed studies, government data, all supporting the fact that there are many red flags out there on fluoridation, known harm or possible harm. One of the things that the proponents do is condescension toward us. And sometimes they even appear mean-spirited. They accuse us of being fear-mongers when we talk about the side effects of fluoride and exposure to fluoride in fluoridation. And yet they use fear tactics themselves. For example, in our recent hearing on this charter change, Dr. Arante from Northeast Delta Dental made the statement, "This will end up being a catastrophe for Rutland City." In other words, stopping fluoridation would be a catastrophe. His colleague, Dr. Steve Reyes, said, "Take fluoride out and it all gets worse," meaning the status of untreated tooth decay. Dr. Michael Dick, a retired local dentist, said in his recent op-ed, "You can only imagine how much worse it would be with increasing tooth decay following the elimination of public water fluoridation." Well, Theresa cited the Cochrane Review and its questioning of the efficacy of fluoridation, and one of the statements in that review is, quote, "There is insufficient information to determine the effect of stopping water fluoridation programs on K-RES levels." So this highly respected source says there's not enough information to state that stopping fluoridation will increase tooth decay. Now, the last time we voted on this, it was a non-binding referendum, statements were made by proponents. Well, look at what happened in Calgary, Canada. They stopped fluoridation and tooth decay went up. Well, come to find out, yes, there was a study that came to that conclusion. But if you looked a little deeper, you found that tooth decay in Calgary had actually started to increase before They stopped fluoridation. So you can't use sloppy science to enforce a policy that current science is discrediting. A similar thing happened in Juneau where they stopped fluoridation, and this study said tooth decay went up. Come to find out, they were not actually measuring tooth decay. They were tracking Medicaid expenditures. So yes, Medicaid expenditures went up. However, it just so happened that the government had put more money into Medicaid, and therefore Medicaid treatments went up, so they weren't actually measuring tooth decay. And so with that, I will, one more point I wanted to make, and this is in the area of condescension again. Dr. Dick made the statement that the opponents of fluoridation, most of our claims, quote, can be traced to a handful of misleading books and websites. Okay, well, maybe he means a book like this. This is a 500-page book produced by the National Research Council of the National Academies, an advisor to the government on matters of science. Took multi-years to write. This agency was set up to advise the government back in the administration of Abraham Lincoln. Top scientists produced this report over a series of years, and that's a basis for many of the concerns about the effect of fluoride and fluoridation. So with that, we've got just a couple minutes left, but I think any closing statements by anyone, and encouraged to vote on March 5th would be appropriate. So
I feel like the crux of the issue really, and I'll repeat what I said, is that we can argue till we're blue in the face about the pros and cons of medicating the water, but what it all boils down to is people should have the choice to either have it or not have it. And like I said, it's financially unfeasible for most people to put a $10,000 water filtration system in their house. And it would be so simple for the city to procure tablets for those who want it. So yeah, I mean, I think sometimes we get lost in the weeds of these studies and that studies, and we argue these little details when really we could just back off and go, okay, well, you're welcome to believe what you want to believe about it, and you can read whatever studies you want about it. But the fact is that we should have the choice of having it in our water or not having it in our water. As a new homeowner, I pay for the water now, and I feel like it's really unfair that I have to pay for water that I don't trust. Yeah. I don't trust the water, and I do like baths. And I liked what Greg said about his grandson taking a bath.
Yeah,
Well said.
In America, in Rutland, you should have the right to breathe fresh air, clean air, eat clean food, and drink clean water. And most of the time, we have that right. But for some reason, in Rutland City, we've lost the right to do the clean water. I think we need to take that right back.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't drink city water. I drink spring water.
The product that is added, the fluorosilicic acid that's added, is from an industrious process to make fertilizer for farms. And so those of us who choose organic food, it's against our ethics in that way and our choices.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Water is life.